Alright, so Feral 10.2, going over some of the changes, tier set, talents, etc. So tier set is really cool, turns Feral Frenzy into a 30-second burst window, and there's some cool ways you can min-max it. So firstly, you want to get your dots up first, just so they're ticking while the buff is up, and also so you can use more direct damage during the buff. You also want to hold your Convoke a few seconds and use it towards the end of the window, just so your Convoke doesn't override the buff. What else? You want to pull before using it, so you have energy to use direct damage. But Tiger's Fury also aligns with it, so you can use that for damage, for energy as well. What else? As I said with dots, you ideally want to try and use your rip before it. Or make sure your rip is going to last the entire duration, just so you are only biting while the buff is up, and then as your buff ends, just then you refresh rip. But yeah, I think it's really cool, probably forgetting some stuff, but quite an interesting tier set, and I think burst damage is going to be very valuable. Alright, so next up we have some talent changes. So Saber Jaws, I really like this. It increases the bonus damage portion of your ferocious bite, meaning any extra energy consumed. And yeah, this rewards good play with huge bites. I think what's most interesting is the fact that it might change up our Berserk gameplay, because you probably want to be using maximum energy possible on all your bites. If you're just spamming low energy bites during your Berserk, this talent isn't going to do anything. So you might want to do things like pool energy before Berserk, pool energy during Berserk if you need to. I don't think that'll be too impactful with something like Incarn, but definitely something to keep in mind. And yeah, I really like this because that's what you want from a talent, something that changes things up a bit. And the high APM sort of spammy Berserk playstyle gets a bit tiresome. So when running this talent, the fact that you might need to actually care about your energy a bit more is a really good change in my opinion. And yeah, next up we have Apex, which was buffed in single target and nerfed in AoE, just to balance it out a little bit. And yeah, I think it's one of the best changes this expansion. I think before Apex was just a little bit all too consuming on the AoE rotation. Now AoE just feels a lot better. BT is a lot easier to proc and just feels a lot better. You have more globals to use dots, use utility, and just different parts of your kit. You're also not permanently struggling to deplete your energy, which felt kind of clunky, but at the same time you have more energy in single target now. So say in Mythic Plus, you had very little energy in single target but way too much in AoE. So that's balanced out quite a bit. It also makes bite weaving better because you're not just always overriding a Sabertooth buff. And from a raid perspective, it's going to help where Feral's going to be less impacted by burst AoE classes, just sort of nuking everything down, because Feral is a consistent AoE damage profile. So to do any AoE or funnel damage, you need stuff to actually live, which can be quite frustrating in raid when people just pad and nuke ads down. So yeah, it's going to be really good in that regard. But yeah, I really like this change. 4% to 9% is actually a huge buff. So it's one of the strongest single target talents on the tree now as well. So I don't know if that'll change or not, but yeah, pretty cool. Incarn AG is the final change. So rip and rake targets take more damage during your Incarn and 30 seconds after. And yeah, this is quite dull. It doesn't change your gameplay at all compared to the proc, which was engaging. I know the RNG was super annoying, but at the same time, one issue with Heart of the Lion and Incarn is that so much of your damage is dependent on your kill time, and if you have a kill time that's unfavorable for your CDs, then that can be the difference between top and bottom of the meter for Feral. And this new version kind of goes all in, and a lot of the value is inside Incarn itself, where the proc, it only added value outside of Incarn. So if you had a bad kill time, it helps sort of even out your Incarn uptime between kills. Whereas this new one kind of exacerbates the issue, and yeah, it's just not very interesting. So I hope they iterate on it, but we'll see. As for talent builds, too early to say, but I think this is roughly the best single target build. I think double tireless energy over merciless claws is pretty good because more energy to pump out more bites, because Saber Jaws makes your bites do a lot of damage, but I think merciless claws has the edge because your Convoke pumps out a lot of shreds during your tier set burst windows. I think definitely Convoke over Incarn. Incarn seemed to do a lot worse. 2-minute Convoke seemed okay. Apex seems the best, but I think Swarm is competitive. Obviously it has a lot of synergies with the tier set with Feral Frenzy. But yeah, I think this is the best build. As always with Convoke, you don't run LI because Convoke casts it. You won't run Infected Wounds because you're not really running dot talents, and also same reasons before, you want more energy to pump out more bites. But as for AoE, Incarn definitely seemed to do better on the 5 target dummies in Valdrakken, but keep in mind in Mythic Plus you're going to have a lot of single target to do, so I think you'll probably still run Convoke anyway, but for pure AoE, Incarn seems better. Double Claw Rake is better now because less Apex procs in AoE, there's more globals to rake, and similarly RF is worse now because less Apex procs. Because you need Feral Frenzy and because you might also need double Convoke, things like CI, Unbridled can't really take. And Saber Jaws is supposedly not intended to work with Apex procs and Convoke, only hard cast bites, because otherwise it'll be too mandatory and kind of broken with these talents. So this is more for like a single target raid build. So you won't take this in Mythic Plus, but otherwise most of the top should remain the same. So just a few final things. You can see my health dropping quite a bit here. This is because our special weapon in this raid does quite a lot of damage to you, and I think that's also in Convoke's favor because not only Convoke heals you, but with Incarn you just don't have the GCDs to cast regrowth on yourself, and I think that's even going to influence things like you probably want to take Protector of the Pack, maybe even Leech and Giants. Kind of annoying, but yeah, just gotta deal with it, I guess. There's also this trinket which is quite cool. It's a 2-minute main stat burst trinket. I think this will be best in slot because it lines up with Convoke and the tier set and all that. Some of these trinkets also do damage to you as well, so that's something else to keep in mind. If these boots remain Biss, you probably run Slimy instead of Toxic Thorn just because you're gonna need to heal yourself. And yeah, maybe even like you favor Merciless Claws because you're gonna have to regrowth yourself. But I mean, this drops from the end boss, chances are you won't even use it for prog. But just something to keep in mind. Lastly, Innovate also got nerfed by 2 seconds, but they're changing healer mana as well, so I don't know if this is a buff or a nerf to feral utility or neutral, but I hope it's not a nerf to our utility because otherwise things are looking a bit grim. But yeah, definitely gonna have to play some defensive talents if they don't change things with these items sort of really hurting you. But yeah, I think that's just about everything I wanted to cover, so thanks for watching, and I'll try to do more soon.